We talk about, hey, does resistance from 15 years ago still matter? Resistance from the dot-com bubble, does that still matter? In this case, the resistance from the bubble in Japan in the 80s, does it still matter? I've always been in the camp that yes, it matters. The market acknowledges those levels. And I continue to be proven right. Like, we keep seeing, whenever I have these conversations, it ultimately does matter. And when markets ultimately do break out from those levels, they go parabolic because it's such an important breakout. So I've said that for a long time. The market keeps proving that mentality is right. So I'm not just going to veer from that and be like, nope, the highs from 1989 are not going to matter.
This episode is brought to you by my friends at FinChat.io. FinChat is the complete stock research platform for fundamental investors. Beyond having all the standard financial data for more than 100,000 companies around the globe, FinChat tracks company-specific segments and KPIs on over 1,500 stocks. You want to see Amazon AWS's revenue over the last 10 years? FinChat's got it. You want to track premium subscribers for Spotify? They've got that too. You want to see how many stores Lululemon added in China the last quarter? Yes, FinChat has it. FinChat has everything you need to easily track and manage your portfolio. And starting today, you automatically get 2 weeks free of FinChat Pro when you sign up. So go to FinChat.io. That's FinChat.io and try it out. If you end up loving the platform like I do, you can use code TWF at checkout and get 15% off any paid plans.
Hello, welcome everybody. I'm Howard Lindzon. I'm hopped up on protein, and you are on Trends with Friends. Play the intro. Don't know if there's an intro. Welcome, Hoodie, Phil, and the Bluefish. Phil, how you doing?
I'm great, dude. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, and welcome to JC, who's individually gelled each one of his 42,000 hairs. But JC, how long does that take you? Because there's, I feel like,
do you have a stylist?
I feel like, are you trying to capture amoeba and paramecium during the day in there, or what do you think?
I have a team. I have a team of.
There's no team. That's all.
Some
you.
ladies who come and they do my hair.
He's got a green room,
by the way,
in his basement.
You know. I think this is your color. I think that blue brings out every good aspect of your hair, your eyebrows, your skin. I don't know what color that blue is, but like if it was a paint store, or let's use some AI, and I think that's your color, dude. Versus
it's royal blue, Lindzon.
Royal blue is fantastic on you, Phil. I would lose that color.
Thank you.
I would lose that color. I don't know what that is. Dull,
I just steal my kids'
gray
sweatshirts, to be honest with you. That's what happens. Like they're hanging in the laundry room, and I just put it on.
I've seen that. I know you steal their T-shirts. I know you steal their little mini
their T-shirts.
Their T-shirts when they're you've kept their T-shirts from when they're 9, so you look like Iron Man occasionally on the show. I do. Riley Rosebee, who I almost had medevac to shove some carbs down his throat this weekend. He was here for Lidzapalooza, 16th Lidzapalooza. Riley, you were there for some of it. What'd you think?
You know how to put together a party. It's a cool collection of people, all walks of life. I like the events too. Good golf event, good bowling.
Yeah, we did a little night golf. We had a little bowling at Bolero with my buddy Lev, who runs Bolero and is an LP. He set us up. I got to say, as clean as Bolero is, maybe the dirtiest place on earth is a bowling alley. I mean, I had COVID within 3 minutes of walking in there. I'm sticking my fucking fingers in pie holes and kids snot everywhere. But, Bolero was packed. People loved COVID. All right, Phil, take it away. What do we got today?
So first, what I'd like to say is Trends with Friends is growing. We have a website now where we're curating content. We have the podcast, which is going gangbusters, evidently. And so what I'd love to do is just recommend to tell your friends that we're Trends with Friends. So if you get the email or you watch the video and you love it, share it with some friends. Show you care, please share. And Also, one other thing related to that, we created this Trends with Friends website, and we're curating content on there, and we're channeling it right into StockTwits. It's really, really interesting. Howard, as dumb as you would think he is, he really has a lot of things going on back there, and he has this whole model of how we're going to take this and work it in with StockTwits and distribute it. And if you would like to be involved with that, if you have really something to say, if you have an expert knowledge around markets, especially, create a Beehiiv and just start writing and let us know about it. And we'll take a look at it and we'll give you feedback and maybe we'll pull you in, depending. But this is the time. This is a moment when it's happening. Web 2 still exists and it's still incredible. Speaking of that, Howard, curious to hear, congratulations, by the way, Beehiiv, which is this incredible newsletter service. It's a blog, it's a newsletter, it's everything. It's a dessert topping. It's everything. And they just, remember that? It's a what was it? It's a floor polish and it's a dessert topping, right? Yeah, wasn't that like some old,
Beehiiv wax?
Tastes great and what a shine. And anyway, remember that? It was like some old Saturday Night Live. It was like Chevy Chase or something. And so anyway, Beehiiv raised a ton of money and they are like they're crushing it. They got like $1 billion something or others every month. And I just wanted to, and so you guys just announced you're involved. You guys led the seed round with Beehiiv and now it's growing like crazy and they just raised $33 million. Why don't you tell us what's going on there, Howie?
Well, I think we all know JC hasn't moved, but he will. So first of all, quickly on Trends with Friends, trendswithfriends.com. It's me, JC, Phil. I'm really happy to see. I think one of the most interesting aspects of this, and Riley brings in the next generation. JC's discovered so many people, Riley being one of them, who's integral to. Well, it's just kind of like our little adopted, undernourished child. It feels like he's like White UNICEF, I call him. That's going to be his new nickname, White UNICEF. So, we're pulling together so many things. We're proud of some of the people obviously, JC, you've sold All Star Charts and are building all kinds of new brands. Phil has been with me, I don't know, since day one. And we adopted Riley. Someone left him at our doorstep. We fed him. We taught him about protein, and here he is too with Trends with No Friends. But we're building a place inspired by the tech that we've invested in over the years, and inspired by our love for markets and sharing. StockTwits is a very StockTwits is a very lean in, keyboard intense product. Everybody sharing ideas, yelling, screaming, loving their tickers. Trends with Friends was my idea, and you guys bought in to this idea of a lean back version. Like, what's happening on StockTwits? What can we talk about? What are the trends like? I give people a place to kind of now, for this next generation of investors, to kind of lean away from their keyboards and enjoy the markets. So, this is kind of the first iteration. This is our show. We're inviting a lot of writers that we like, and slowly more and more writers will join the fold. And our idea is Kiritsu around email. Email, I think, is the social network. You've got the data. You've got deliverability. You know who your readers are. Not as sexy as the 10 years of Facebook and Twitter and Discord and all the other StockTwits. Little different. We believe in, I think, from our seed investment in Beehiiv that you mentioned, which we did a few years ago during COVID, we made a bet that the world was going to change, that email was the deliverable platform. JC's been using it forever, email as a solution, building up his business from a subscription and user format. Riley's been using Beehiiv now, and Phil, you've been a longtime Substack guy, I think. And I don't know if you switched. Phil, have you switched?
I haven't switched yet, but I got to tell you, and this is a bullish thing, and this is like authentic. I'm not really involved with Beehiiv at all. Substack has gotten more confusing to me. So like they have like subscribers, and then now they have followers. And I don't really understand like what's going on there. I think they tried
They're caught up.
to compete with Twitter, and that diffused them. That was like turned out to be a negative thing.
I just don't like these. I just don't like these corporate networks. I'd rather just have our own solution. So we do everything internally. It's our own custom code. It's way better to just own the system rather than be a slave to another. I've been a slave to systems and these corporate networks for so many years. And, you know, some of them provide great solutions, but it's way better to just have developers build your own. Oh, what a blessing.
Yeah. So we're using WordPress, Phil, for Trends with Friends, which, you know, I've been using forever. We'll eventually switch, I think, to Beehiiv, much like Free Press did with Substack. Anyways, there's no perfect solution. There are some decentralized solutions. JC's running a business.
Well, that's what I agree. There's no perfect solution.
No perfect solution.
That's why we built our own.
So our bet.
We didn't have a choice.
Yeah, our bet on Beehiiv was that having 10,000 deliverable emails versus 100,000 friends that may or get you shadow banned or you may not really know is the future. So we don't care what others are doing. I've made all the mistakes of worrying about what others were doing. I'm 58 years old. We try and worry what we're doing. So anyways, Tyler's a great founder. They just raised $33 million from NEA. Kudos to them. It follows on a year ago where they raised around 15 from Lightspeed. We were the seed investors. We just wrote our biggest check ever. Obviously, our funds have gotten bigger over the years, but we just wrote our biggest check in this follow-on round into Beehiiv. So I can tell you how confident we are in the company and Tyler and in the product and in the business. But anyways, we love investing in products that we use. Tyler built a product that got me to switch from my WordPress for 15 years. And I think, Tyler, the difference, what you say about Substack and Beehiiv is very simple. They're both great products. Beehiiv built a business first. Substack raised a lot of money first to build a platform. That was the playbook from 2009 through 2023. Raise as much money you can. Zerp, zerp, zerp. YC, Andreessen. Don't worry about revenue now. Worry about it later. I don't know why people continue to think that is still the world we live in with mortgage rates at 7%, commodities booming, world shrinking, couple of wars, everybody hating big tech. And a lot of zombie companies. Beehiiv listened to us when we were very early to this pivot to saying, hey, show me the business first. What happens if you can't raise endless capital? And give yourself some optionality. That's kind of the social leverage model the last 3-4 years. We were not in favor. We were not writing a lot of checks. Tyler understood what we were saying, and to compete with Substack, we told him you need to compete not on product but on cap table. And today, Beehiiv's doing much better than Substack financially. Never had to pay a writer. Has raised enough money to be a public company. Does not need more capital to be a public company in 4 or 5 years.
And it's such a good product, though, Howard.
Like I said, the
it's
product
such a
was
good
good,
product
but because they built a business,
it makes people's lives easier.
Yeah, but it makes
people's lives easier. I think that's such a huge value.
Yeah, and they hide. They're not. They're very social, right? And they're very organic. Totally, but they're not. They don't intrude in my experience. Substack users fight with them. And then they went to Substack's made a lot of cap table mistakes.
Don't get me wrong, Substack has been great.
Yeah, the product's
it's simple
fine
to use. All you do is sign up. I mean, just like Beehiiv, you just sign up and then you have a newsletter. Great. I'm just talking about like sort of like this other stuff that they're trying to do.
Remember how it used to be? Rowan, remember how it used to be? Lindzon, of all people, remember how it used to be?
Yeah.
You guys built my blog because you were like, why don't you have a blog, JC? I was like, I don't know how to do that. They're like, we'll build it for you, and you just go.
Dude,
remember?
me and Dominic, literally me and Dominic built your
Dominic.
blog, like way back in the day.
Yeah. We started a company called the Blogging Times. Remember the Blogging Times? Anyway, so what I'm saying is, here's how social leverage talked yesterday, and we've been talking the same way for 3-4 years since COVID started. First things first, what is your business? That is the first question no one's asking. What had been being asked in the era of YC and in the era of free money was, how big, what's the TAM? And that's not a knock. That world will return. That world still exists. But for people that want to return capital, not just invest capital, you need to ask founders and educate and pick founders that first question is, what's your business? Second question, and again, these are questions we asked Tyler back in 2021. Optimize for optionality. He could have raised money at a 20 million valuation because that was the going rate at startups. And he did have a product. But we said, Tyler, what happens if something happens? What happens if you can't grow? How are you going to raise money in a year if you've raised money at a 20 million valuation? Guess what? Tyler took our advice, gave up a little more dilution, and he optimized for optionality. We also told him that the unicorn is dead. Okay, we didn't know this would happen, but we said, why does everything have to be a unicorn? Okay, this is a message to founders out there. You can make a lot of money selling your company for 80 to 200 million and still make your investors money. Okay, so optimize for optionality. And Tyler has now done that. He's raised plenty of capital at a much lower valuation at Substack with a much better business. That's called optionality. And that allows people to sleep. You know what happened to Tyler? 6 months in, his CTO and co-founder passed away from a sudden heart problem. Okay. That optionality has allowed him to take his time, find the right people, recover this, help the family of his co-founder. We sold some stock for the family. You can't do this when you raise ungodly amounts of money and the pressure is on and everybody's worried about returning their capital. Third thing, most important as we move forward, guys, most important, how organic can you get? Okay. We lived in a world when we started StockTwits. We knew that it would be much easier to grow on the backs of Twitter. If you tried the StockTwits strategy now, or any strategy that was popular for the last 15, 16 years built on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, you're fucked. You may have slip one by your investors because you raise an extra 10 million to spend on customer acquisition. You only fucked yourself. So the investment we do, including Beehiiv starting in 2021, how organic can you get? Okay. Can you get Joe Rogan to talk about your product without paying Joe Rogan? I'm not saying it's possible, but that's how you have to think. You can't pay for growth. Okay. A few companies get through, but thousands in the e-commerce space have died. And there's tons more zombie companies out there because they never were asked the proper questions. So those are the 3 points. If you're a founder today, Beehiiv's done it well. Tons more companies in our portfolio like PunchUp are doing it well, and like Commonwealth. And we've got so many cool companies that JC would love. But most importantly, what is your business model? Optimize for optionality. The unicorn is dead. And how organic can you get? Congrats, Beehiiv. Phil, take it away.
Beautiful. Great value there, Howie. Okay, JC, let's get into this. Politics, stocks, and anger. And you had a question. First, let's put that Trump media chart up. So, is it a pump and dump? Is it a meme coin? Tastes great, less filling. I know it's crazy. So the thing goes crazy again. Now it's mooning again from 21 back to 50 or 48, and people are so pissed. So talk to us about this. Is this a monthly candle, by the way? No. Okay.
That is daily.
So we don't have monthly candles really for this because it's only been around for a couple of years.
We do. They're just not very helpful. We'll scroll down. I've got some longer term charts to look at here, but this I've seen this so many times, Perlman, and you come from a psychology background, so this is in many times very obvious to you. But this is something that I've learned over the years, that what we're really doing is just understanding human psychology and try to take advantage of that for our own reasons to be able to profit from it, to be able to extract money from the market and understanding human psychology. So when I find, exuberance in either direction, I remember at one point in 2012, we were getting bearish Apple, and it was like, I was like hurting people. Like, how could I ever short such an amazing company and blah, 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 blah. Like they were like, it was my Apple that I'm shorting, right? Like there was an exuberance there. In the case of politics, letting your politics get in the way. I lived in California when Trump was elected. Everybody was going to cash. Everybody was freaking out. I'm like, you guys are crazy. We were buying everything. And then as it turns out, the year after Trump was elected, was one of the greatest, least volatile years in the history of the stock market, right? And in my opinion, a lot of the reason why it was so less volatile and going straight up was because of the mispositioning and the unwind that led to exactly that, right? You know, especially when politics get involved, get in the way, you know, Biden getting elected. You know what the best stocks during the Biden administration have been? Coal stocks. You know what the worst stocks during the Biden administration? Clean energy and marijuana. Like, you know, it's the exact opposite, right? So that human psychology, we continue to see this play out time and time again. You know, people who dislike and, you know, even angers in some cases, you know, a particular stock for reasons that have nothing to do with the stock really gets my attention, really gets me interested, because there's an inherent short squeeze, you know, unwind just inherently built into the situation, right?
Can I?
You know,
excellent.
Go ahead,
I comment? Can I?
Yeah.
Ditto, but bring it back up because it is emotion. There's so many lessons in here because, you know, you've heard me get mad about this, and but it's just a sign of the times, right? If you're trading this, you still don't know what you're doing in the market. It's fun to watch. JC and I are watching it. Phil is watching it. We're commenting on it. If this is in your portfolio, you are not an investor. You're not even a speculator.
Hey, I take offense to that.
You can take offense.
Why are you hating?
I didn't hate.
It's just a trade.
I just said you're not a serious investor, which is fine. The world is full of degenerates. We talk about the degenerate economy all the time.
That's bullshit. Why can't I be a serious investor and then also have a portfolio that's for degenerates?
You can't. I just said, to me, you're not. I'm not insulting anybody. Let me tell you what this stock represents.
It's offensive, Perlman. You hear that?
The
shit?
stock
You hear
represents.
I think this.
You
know, that little bit of abrasiveness is good for this whole thing. That you guys.
He's not
guys
letting
go
me
back and forth
finish.
a little bit.
It's like
calling me out.
It's like I'm talking to David Sachs with better hair. Listen, the point here, JC, is of course you can trade it. It's listed. You can fucking blow your brains out. I have no opinion on that. I'm just saying this only exists. This is an embarrassment to the SEC and Gary. This is a legacy to Gary Gensler's idiocy and negligence and the SEC. This is not a serious organization that stands in front of crypto and decides that Donald J. Trump, fake company that allows people to blow their brains out on something that could easily have been stopped. But again, it's here. It exists. Fine. Do what you want to do. I think what's interesting is the psychology. You had the whoops, okay? But meanwhile, there's a lot of great things happen in the market, whether it's Google running or whether it's the fintechs doing their thing and the banks and Goldman Sachs and gold. But all this talks about is it continues to tell us that we're in an era that people are above the law and that the size of these companies, Donald J. Trump's at $7 billion is fascinating, but we live in a world where there's almost $15 trillion companies around the world. So this is a fart, fly on a fucking, horse's ass. And this little prick, Donald J. Trump and his scammy fucking supporters pulled a fast one over Gary Gensler. And this was a sign of the times. That's it. Elon's above the law. Trump's above the law. And these people all end up like the rest of us in a box 6 feet under.
And listen, and despite all that, shareholders get to keep the profits.
Yeah, listen.
Only
That's the beautiful thing. As our buddy Brian Shannon,
it's a beautiful thing.
As our buddy Brian Shannon says, only price pays. And so to your point, JC, first of all, you were asking me about this, but you explained it beautifully. There's really only price behavior, and behavior is a part of psychology. And if you want to, and it's the observable part. So like, here's the thing about emotions. We all have these strong emotions. Nobody denies that. But objectively observing them is incredibly difficult. First of all, they're inside you. Second of all, putting words to them is very difficult. My general stance is this, that if I have an extremely emotional reaction to anything, I don't get involved, right? So I hate Beyond Meat. I'm always going to hate it. It's fake meat. Meat is the greatest, healthiest food in the world. Beef is the healthiest food in the world. And they're making fake meat and trying to sell it as I would just never get involved. I was hating it. It went from 100 to 10. I could have shorted it, but I never would have gotten involved, because if it would have done what this stock is doing here, going to
Crush your
zero
soul.
and then all of a sudden doubling in like 5 or 8 trading days, I would be apoplectic. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So if you have a really emotional reaction, if you're a super Trumper here, or you're a super lefty, you're at either end of the horseshoe extreme, just don't get involved. And if you're a carnivore,
let me also remind,
don't get involved with Beyond
It's really
Meat.
smart. Herman, that's really smart. I hadn't really thought of it quite like that, but you're so spot on. But then take that same mentality to another level to be able to exploit those who don't have the ability to.
If you're not emotionally involved, exactly, then you could just look at this chart the way, very coldly, and I mean that as a compliment, JC, with the one line, a couple of arrows, and a little oops just to be cute about it. And you get the whole
scroll down.
Oh, I love this one, the Dogecoin Chump Media.
Scroll down.
Okay, so give us a minute on this one.
I mean, what Lindzon is talking about, how the times, right? The sign of the times, these two look exactly the same. So, we could see, Dogecoin is the blue chip meme coin, right? This is the bellwether. This is the JP Morgan. This is the Google. This is the Apple, the Microsoft. These are the ExxonMobil, the bellwether of its space.
Yeah, well, I would throw,
if we could
whip in Tesla there, I got to think they look the same as those two, even though it's a real company. I would throw Tesla in as kind of one of the three here, compared to the three Gs.
Is Tesla a meme coin, JC? Right, that's your point.
It is. That's all I'm saying. Is
I think all of these things are a byproduct of an environment where investors are putting money into growthy areas and, long duration investments, if you will.
They were.
I think this is all sort of part of that world.
JC, you're right, but now you're wrong. Meaning, we live in a world of 7% interest rates. Anybody playing this playbook, you can play it. I don't say it's wrong, but anybody playing a playbook that is from the last cycle can have their fun, but it's amateur hour. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying amateurs shouldn't make money. This is fantastic. If you please put Tesla in there. It will look the exact same. Compare it to the 3 Gs that I've been talking about: Goldman, Google.
Yeah, but Lindzon, why does Tesla look like that? Because it's
a fucking meme coin. Okay, it is a joke of a company that built a product that people love. People love Dogecoin. People like fucking listening to Trump. Tesla is a not serious company. Okay, he has used that as a projectile for his other businesses, real businesses, digging holes in the ground, fucking sending garbage to space, and giving people internet in Gaza. Okay? So let me take the opposite side of the trade. We live in an era that people are above the law, and we live in an era where where crime is cool. So this is what you get. And that will pass. Earnings are what matter. And serious investors are not focused on these companies right now.
Now, one final point. I will say this. We're going to see this again.
Yeah.
We've seen it before.
Absolutely.
And we'll see it again. And by the way, in both directions, where people are just too exuberant to the upside,
Absolutely.
too pessimistic to the other side. Like, there are signs, right? And, we're going to see these again. I promise you. And as investors, serious or otherwise, I would look to those opportunities.
So this is just meme coin arbitrage. Is just the coldly kind of the way JC looks at it. And Howie is playing Berkshire here, is Buffett and talking about value. It's all beautiful.
It's a sentiment on one.
There are moments in time. There are moments in time. This is why I just, I love, even if JC shares these charts, I take them seriously. What I'm saying is I know how to dismiss it and get to what my 3G idea is, right? The less time I focus on this and the more time I focus on 3Gs. Okay,
so let's go there. We have a fourth G too. We have a fourth G. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
First G is gold. And by the way, Howie, credit where credit's due. You've been pumping the 3Gs. Now you have a fourth G, but you've been pumping the 3Gs for a while and they're all going crazy. We'll get to Google in a little while. That one's breaking out, but look at this gold. Holy cannoli. Is this a monthly? Well, is this a monthly, JC?
But by the way,
I cheated on this one.
Yeah, but here's it's not like I'm saying Russia to buy gold. I'm just saying this is a serious $13 trillion 1,000-year-old, 16 trillion dollar 1,000-year-old, 2,000-year-old thing. It was there when Jesus was killed. It was there when
the Phoenicians were
born.
freaking making coins out of this shit.
But what I'm saying is, I'm way late to this. It's been rising against other currencies, as JC has shown the last few times. So it's not like I'm some mad scientist. I use JC's charts. I throw together a cute term, the 3 Gs. I don't know what it means. I'm seeing what I'm seeing, and it's in an interesting world. Okay, yes, where Tesla doubles or up 30% in a week, Doge's up 30% in a week, and Trump's up 100% in a week. But at the same time, the serious money is pouring into gold, Goldman, and Goldman Sachs. I don't know what it means when gold's going up, Goldman Sachs is going up, and Google's going up. You got tech working, a true tech company. You have a true capital markets company working, and you have a true doom and gloom company working, or doom and gloom proxy working. That's a fucking fascinating world. Way more fascinating than criminals and people that are above the law. And this is really what people need to be paying attention to. So go ahead, JC, take it away on gold.
Yep. I mean, you said it yourself. Gold's been working relative to other currencies for a long, long time. So flip that on its head. What does that mean? That means that all of these currencies have been losing their value relative to real money for quite some time. The Swiss franc broke down more recently, and the dollar just broke down. But this has been happening for a long time. So this, it's a new trend relative to the dollar. But the trend in gold is up. Precious metals is up. We'll look to see to what degree if silver starts to outperform, if the gold miners start to participate. We've seen it here and there, but nothing consistent quite yet. So if you think that this secular bull market in gold is here to stay, then what you're looking out for is some of that rotation into silver and gold miners continuing and really having legs, because we really haven't seen that yet. So that would be next. I do think it's coming. So I would be looking for that, but that's what would be next for sure.
Do you have any updates on your Mexican gold miner trade?
Do I have updates on the Mexican gold miner trade? Nothing's happening yet.
He should have just stayed in the liquid version.
I did. So for those new listeners, early on in the Trends with Friends podcast, we talked about how I did a private placement investment with a Mexican gold miner. They said that I can, submit that to my broker, and I could put that in my account. And I had to hold it for a year, but there's some like scam loophole in Canada that I can go through and sell it within 6 months if I wanted to. So seriously, this is no joke. So I still have it. It's just it's a fart in the wind in my portfolio. But
do you wish,
in
hindsight, as right as you are in gold, do you wish you had just bought futures so you could be liquid today? Would it have been smart? Again, don't get me wrong. I'm not making fun. I invest in private companies that go to zero all the time. None of them Mexican. So being as right as you were about gold early, do you regret not just buying futures?
No, you know what it is? It's a can you sleep at night thing. And a lot of times people can't sleep at night because maybe they have too big of a position in something, or they have, too much exposure. That's never really my problem because I'm so diversified in different things that I got going on. So for me, I lose sleep at night when I don't have enough of something. And in the last go around in the 2000s, it was early in my career. We were long gold. All my heroes were gold bugs. Like gold kept going up. It was outperforming. It was easy to be a gold bug in the 2000s. And I thought I was like the next Warren Buffett because I owned the ETFs and I owned the mega cap gold stocks and everything. And then I'm on the phone with my homies in Vancouver and they're telling me about their 50 baggers and 100 baggers. And I feel like a schmuck. So I said, never again. So this cycle, I want to have some exposure down the cap scale, further out on the risk curve. And I know I got that, and it helps me sleep at night. And then anything I want to do on the more liquid side, I can do. And by the way, that is liquid. I could sell it if I wanted to.
Thank you, JC. By the way, we're taping this on Tuesday afternoon, about 4 hours before the market close at the end of the month. And so this is almost sacrilegious for JC to be posting monthly candlestick charts before the month actually ends. So we're getting a little bit. But do you make anything, just really last quick question on gold, do you make anything of that little tail on the April candlestick on gold? Is that meaningful to you? I mean, it's a gorgeous breakout, but that little, is that telling you anything? Is that meaningful to you in any way?
Yeah, I mean, listen, our first targets for gold were a little bit under 2,400. We got there, right? Consolidated. And I think we could continue to consolidate, work these levels, right? That's the first Fibonacci extension, by the way, from the entire base. So the next one's going to take you to 3,300. So we're looking for how this consolidates here, how this behaves, and that next leg higher, which I think does come this year, I think gets us towards 3,300. You know, so this is the GLD. So it'll take you above 300, basically. I don't know the exact. I haven't done the exact math percentage-wise on the ETF, but on the futures, about 3,300.
I think the breakup means something. If we reverse, it means something more. Maybe don't chase. Let's pull up Goldman. So I know JC always has to pop. So let's
these
keep
are longer-term trends.
Yeah, these are longer-term trends. Okay, Google.
Next.
You know how I feel. You know how I feel. You know how I feel about this. My two axes on this, Michael Parekh and Ram, who we both had on the show. It's not like I'm some genius. Sentiment's brutal. If the company everybody thinks it's too woke, great. No one likes Apple. No one likes Apple. It means something when the stock's in the shitter.
Lindzon's doing the same thing as me.
I always do the same thing as you. I just don't use charts.
You see how he's taking advantage that people think that it's
this
too woke?
Company.
Roman, he's doing what I do.
It's the exact same thing. Totally.
Boy, why don't we call this show Interrupt with Friends? So
you're using my strategy.
I always use your strategy. That's why you're on the show.
We can do everything.
That's why the show's called Trends with Friends, not Howard's a Genius. So
JC, Howard's been stealing ideas from smart people since before we even knew you.
So is fucking Steve.
That's what he does.
By the way, I hand you Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. They haven't had a fucking original idea in their life, boys. So listen, everything's built on top of something else. Google's all-time high is built on top of an incredible base, negative sentiment, misunderstanding of AI. I will pull up Michael Parekh blessed us with his attendance. People, you don't understand what we have. We've had him on the show. We've seen his intoxication, and you can't fake the genius that he has and knowledge in his brain about AI and tech. Ran Goldman's research. He just spent an hour with our LPs. I don't know, Riley, if you were still in the room. Spent an hour with our LPs sitting next to me talking about everything that we're seeing right now. I will tell you that he is still super bullish on Nvidia, Google. He doesn't like talking stock prices, but he says we haven't seen anything yet with respect to power laws as it relates to AI. Much hype, obviously. But he says we're in the very, 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 very beginning of AI, which means mucho hype, much like, IBM beat Gary Kasparov in chess, and everybody thought IBM was going to be the greatest. You know what I'm saying? So we're in the Watson era of AI. So be careful what you chase. And everybody had already thrown Google out of the race. And I think Google's price action here says, fuck you. What Google did to the 28 woke ass idiots was fucked up their career, not just by firing them, but by putting on their resume they were fired for being fucking woke idiots. So unemployable in this country for the most part. And so we see a huge turn of events. We see that Google is very serious about the cloud and YouTube. I know we didn't put up Apple. On the flip side of Google is Apple. Michael Parekh brought up Apple and said, this is much like Trump and much like Tesla. There was a lot of leaning into the chart here, and that Apple is fucking up in AI. They missed on the goggles, blah, blah, blah. What's going to be next? And he says over the next 2 months before June that Tim Cook is well prepared to announce stuff in June around AI, whether it's a partnership with ChatGPT or whether it's a partnership with Google. Don't count Apple out. And they have 2 billion users around the world that log into Apple products every day. So again, the sentiment is very bad on Apple. It's cute to look at the chart, but this is not why I'm reading charts when it comes to Apple. I think relative strength-wise, yeah, Google over Apple. But I think it'd be very silly to dismiss Apple when they know what's on the line.
How many times have we seen this? Perlman has seen me put charts like this all the time.
Yeah.
This is a long-term secular uptrend.
Yeah.
Massive double top, quote unquote, right? Momentum diverging positively, was not able to hold those lows.
Okay.
You know, notice how I put that arc in green, right? Is this like a bullish, not a top? We saw it in Disney recently. This is very, very possibly the beginning of a monster squeeze higher for Apple.
And so when did they report? Did they report between the time?
It's not about report.
What's that?
I don't think it's going to be about the report. I think, again, it could be. I mean, the squeeze is set.
I think tomorrow.
Again, but, you know,
so
I'm not giving up on Apple.
This.
Michael Parekh says, don't give up on Apple. The processes are in the can. Just what I heard about him. Again, Ram, we'll have Ram on the show because, you know, Michael speaks in both English and Swahili. And by Swahili, I mean tech language that is just way over my head. But Ram taped the conversation, is dissecting it for us. I mean, to have Michael for an hour talk deep tech and the layers that are happening and in the early stages, we'll have them both back on. But anyways, he's saying just don't count Apple out. The amount of processors are in the camera and what they're going to do with AI is unstoppable. He also talked about this product called a pendant product, that Infinity, that JC would be fucking all over, that people wear around their neck. But remember about AI, it's all going to be about privacy. You know, as fast as AI comes, privacy is the hiccup. And guess who's the leader in privacy? Apple. So maybe the technicals that JC are showing are what the real money knows, which is that Apple in June is going to fucking moon some people and squeeze some people. So that's Apple. Let's move on to the next one, JC.
All right, Goldman.
You know, it's for me, it's less about Goldman Sachs itself and more about capital markets. The capital markets index has been outperforming financials and pretty much everything else. It's more capital markets than it is Goldman Sachs. You can scroll. I brought the LPL chart as well, just so you can see it's not just a Goldman thing. You know, and you guys have been investing longer than I have. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's more about getting the sector and the trend right than it is the specific stock, right? I mean, we've seen the data. An LPL chart, also new all-time highs.
Wow, LPL. So I know a lot about LPL just because I know what I don't like about them, which is advisors. And again, I love advisors. I think everybody should have a financial advisor. Advisors that are hooked up to LPL have a nightmare getting their clients access to alternative investments. So I kind of am not a fan of LPL.
But they also have a machine going. I mean, they have economies
of scale. But it also says something about capital markets.
They got an advisorship machine going on.
Oh, yeah. No, it says something about capital markets, but I'm gonna, and it's a leverage play because he said it's the RIAs, but I'm gonna stick with Goldman. Interactive Brokers looks, you know, that's one of my favorites in the 80s. It just broke out. It was one of our early recos in the 80s, way back when. I don't know if we have Interactive Brokers, buddy, but.
Okay, so here's what I want to do. Screaming. So you were mentioning, Howie, that you had a fourth G. You're mentioning that you have a fourth G. Let's just get to that. So we talked about gold, we talked about Goldman, we talked about Google. The Google chart looks just great. I mean, they reported, they blew out, they broke out of this big thing. GE, the fuck is that, dude? What is that? That's like that's a 20th century company.
Google. It may say more about Google if it doesn't hold. So again, it's not like rush to buy Google. If you're long Google, smile. If Google reverses here, it will say more about Google being a problem to this market than about Google being bullish. Okay, so GE, the fuck? I don't know. I thought they were $1. Things at $130. It looks like a coal stock meets Trump meets Dogecoin. I got to do some work here. I don't know what to say. Is it an industrial bounce?
So this is what's left after all the spinoffs.
Yeah.
So they spun off the healthcare.
Okay. So it's just aerospace?
So this is It's not just aerospace, but the name of the company is no longer General Electric. The name of the company is GE Aerospace.
Okay.
So this is what's left after they got rid of the healthcare and some other stuff.
Yeah, a writer, one of my readers, after I talked about the 3Gs, said I forgot about a 4G. I wouldn't count this in a 4G. Hell of a fucking win. Congrats. If you want to add a G to my Gs. But it's not at an all-time high. But I don't know. Pretty good.
15-year high.
15-year high.
How many stocks do you know making new 15-year highs in this market?
The size of my breast, 15-year highs. triple Bs.
And so what do you think here? What's this breakout here of this little line you drew and the oops? What does that mean, JC? Behaviorally.
I mean, this thing's got absolutely parabolic.
I love the oops. Love the oops.
It's a long-term chart, by the way, if you're not looking at the x-axis.
Yeah, that's a really long-term chart for GE. I mean, listen, as a trader, if it's above 150, it's probably fine. Probably heading towards 200. That's probably the range, 150 to 200. If you lose 150, you're probably going lower. So 150 to 200 as a trader. Lindzon would say that real investors that take themselves seriously wouldn't buy this, right, Lindzon?
No,
is that right?
No. I just don't, there's so many things that I understand that I want to invest in. Again, and it's fun to make fun of me because I agree with you. One thing about the show that people do like and also do not like is the conviction that we have. And I always tell people that yell at me, go, you guys have too much conviction. Too much conviction. Why would you want to listen to people that don't have conviction? What we try and do is have conviction and then tell you what could go wrong. So no, GE is just something that a writer wrote into me. I'm like, I'll take a look at it. Shocked to see that I missed a 100-point move in GE, but doesn't mean I want to do anything with it because I don't know anything about the company. I don't understand. I can't put a story to it yet. I can put a story to the 3Gs that help me follow it. I can put a story to Axon Financial because of, their cloud-based, growth versus taser growth. I try and look at the chart. I try and look at the fundamentals, and I try and piece together a story that allows me to hold on to things through the volatility. Okay, next.
Okay, Riley Rosebee, it's great to have you back here. Thank you for your patience. I just see you smiling with amusement as we mock each other. It's just beautiful to see you here. So you're Trends with No Friends. And you have a spotlight Trends with No Friends stock for us this week. What do you got?
I have two of them. I had to add a late edition this morning too. But the first one up is Aramark.
You can do two.
Yeah.
First one is Aramark, which for y'all, if you're not familiar, are the food service managers at universities, hospitals, sporting events. So this thing is working on, what is this?
They're so busy giving money to Hamas supporters. Yes, this is a bull market for, wow.
So the daily chart looks really clean.
Those charts are incredible. 822 followers on StockTwits, right?
Yeah.
There's more Aramark fans on Columbia's campus than there are.
Well, that's the thing.
How much? What's the market cap? 8 billion?
8 billion. If you ask any university student and show them the logo of Aramark, they'll recognize it immediately, but only 800 folks on StockTwits care about it.
Okay. So what's fascinating about this company is it has 3 A's. So we'll call this stock the 3 A's, Aramark. Never seen the logo. Have you seen it, Phil? JC, have you seen it?
Let me pull it up.
I've totally seen it.
I don't know what this is.
It's a food service. They're the guys that have the scam that allows you to buy pizza so did they get paid for allowing Domino's in the studio? Or are they just selling their own food?
No, they're like the vendors. They bring in all the vendors. So even at Starbucks, you'll see them with Aramark.
Okay.
If you're on campus. So I don't know exactly how that business works.
But nobody knows about them.
I got to think too, when you get university dollars.
That is a serious looking breakout, JC. We got to keep an eye on that. Find a trade.
I think above 34-ish.
There's a trade there that it's a beautiful looking breakout with no followers. Okay.
Big base.
Big base. You know what they say about big base? Big balls. Big base, big balls.
Is that what they say?
No, and I'm just throwing in a Manscaped thing. If you have big balls, you should take care of them with Manscaped. They'll plug for a company. Okay, beautiful one, Riley. I don't know. We're gonna have to JC. We're gonna have to put on a trade there. Okay.
Next one.
I love this name. Good job, Riley.
This next one
beautiful. Which other one you got, Riley?
ATI Inc. It has 1,400 followers on StockTwits. It's a specialty metal producer based out of Texas. They just reported earnings, so that's why there's that crazy candle there, and citing strength in the aerospace and defense industry. So seeing GE's aerospace area, kind of this whole sector and industry is doing well. But an absolutely monster candle today. It was up 16.5%, 17% as we're taping.
So it's Allegheny Technologies. I like the name. It's Allegheny Tech, $6 billion.
I think I needed to.
Is that an
reach out to
all-time
this-
high?
No.
It's like a 12, 13 year high.
No, wait a minute. Yeah, it's 2015 high. I only have. Do we have a longer term chart? That's a beautiful breakout. Jesus, $6 billion company. So hang on. They engage in specialty materials, component operators, high performance, blah, blah, blah. Advanced alloys and solutions. Okay, literally don't understand what they do. Could be a fake company. But they're in Dallas, so hey. All right, I'm going to make some calls in Dallas on that one to some money managers, but nice find. So you're finding, so it's not an all-time high. Okay.
No.
So going
Strong
back to
earnings
2005.
Talk
it
about
got up
an
to,
oops.
like, higher than
JC, talk about an oops. If you did oops back in 2005, that's a fucking major oops, right, on the monthly in 2005. So it's kind of all-time highs, right? Like, well, I closed a few months above. I don't know. This is basically an all-time high. I wouldn't chase it, but that's a pretty cool chart.
The relative strength is there in the near term. There's no question.
Okay. All right. And
I'm a fan
Riley,
of the
refresh.
Aramark one just because of the base is so incredible. And it's been going sideways for so long and broke out. Okay, so last up, thank you so much, Riley. As usual, I mean, these are like hidden gems that nobody notices or thinks about and just doing incredible things. Trends with No Friends on Beehiiv. Definitely check out that newsletter. Okay, one last little thing. I mean, we got let's say we have 3 minutes left and we just talk about one last little thing. I have a question for you guys. Cocoa and the yen, right? So we're getting like crazy moves in the dollar yen. And everybody's talking about it. And we're getting crazy moves. We had a parabolic move in cocoa futures. And now it looks like it's crashing. I don't know. I have no idea. I just, I have no idea. But thoughts about either, do they even matter? I mean, Japan is halfway around the world. Do I even give a shit about it?
I think you should, because it's one of the most important stock markets in the world. So Phil Perlman specifically, you have exposure to this. If the Japanese stock market is falling apart, that's going to impact your S&P 500 or your, whatever Vanguard ETF you have. So there's nothing you could do about it, yes, but why does it matter to Phil Perlman and many other investors that don't give a shit about, whatever is trading in Japan and Japanese industrial stocks? Because, they're stocks and they're important stocks. And for the same reason why you should probably care what the German DAX is doing, right? They're important stocks, right? If the German DAX is completely falling apart, then your long exposure in the US equities market is probably not doing too well, right? We're not just Americans, we're earthlings. So I think it's important to understand some of these larger, other markets are, they move together. There's a similar dance. So why should it matter that the Japanese yen has been collapsing? Because the Japanese yen's been collapsing this whole time. It's been good for stocks. So if the Japanese yen were to get stronger, what does the environment for stocks look like?
And your chart on the bottom there, the dollar yen, dollar yen hasn't broken out yet. So this just could be, everybody's getting riled up. And a lot of times when people get all riled up and all excited, that's a top or that's a bottom or that's a point where the market shifts. And so could this just be just a beautiful fake out getting to an extreme and then we're going to get some kind of regression?
For me, I have this argument with our friends Michael Parekh and many other friends of mine in the industry, many of you know, and we talk about, hey, does resistance from 15 years ago still matter? Resistance from the dot-com bubble, does that still matter? In this case, the resistance from the bubble in Japan in the 80s, does it still matter? I've always been in the camp that yes, it matters. The market acknowledges those levels. And I continue to be proven right. Like we keep seeing, whenever I have these conversations, it ultimately does matter. And when markets ultimately do break out from those levels, they go parabolic because it's such an important breakout. So I've said that for a long time. The market keeps proving that mentality is right. So I'm not just going to veer from that and be like, nope, the highs from 1989 are not going to matter. Like the market keeps proving that it matters. And by the way, Japan stopped going up when it got there. So I know it's only been like a month or whatever, or 2 months, but like it did stop, So I think front and center for me, very important chart.
So the market has muscle memory. Howie?
I think so.
Mark has muscle memory. One of my favorite companies and founders is in Kyoto. Shout out to Yoshi, who flew in for our conference yesterday. I think, he just took Tom out to sumo fights and fucking crazy food in Kyoto. So we have a friend in Kyoto. He's fucking called Yoshi. Oh, he's so cute. Anyways, listen, we're going to talk about fintech. We'll talk about it next week. Let's let JC out of the house. Riley, we'll have you back often as usual. Often again. Phil, great job hosting. What do you call it? Being the host in the lead. JC, clean that shirt, bring it back next week. Phil, try something brighter.
Love you guys.
Riley,
by the way, I'm going to wear a big
reminder,
pink sweatshirt next week.
Riley, reminder, eat a carb. Eat a carb. Eat a carb. All right, boys. All right, friends, we'll sign out. Whoop. See you, boys.
See ya.